We finally reached our goal of 500 subscribers, so we're going to be giving away the deck box and Apex sleeves from UltraPRO. Stay tuned to find out how to enter. Also, Dan, your deck is getting banned.
No! This week on BattleChads.
Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode of BattleChads. I'm Josh and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Dan and Sam. Hi guys.
Hello. Hey Josh.
So this week we're going to be talking a little bit about Modern, a bit about the format, then we're going to be talking about the standard because we've just had the Pro Tour Final Fantasy. Massive sort of indications of what might come with the BnR off that because it was so heavily polarized into the red decks. So we'll have a talk about that and then we're going to be talking about our BnR predictions after that in the formats that are going to be affected. Then we got some listener questions, and then we're going to talk about the BnR because we reached our goal, lads, of 500 subscribers on YouTube.
Woo!
Much celebrations, much excite.
Much celebrations. I just want to say obviously, Josh, you've been running the podcast as captain so it's all you. But what I'd like to do is, we've only reached 500 subs since I've been here, so I'm going to take the credit. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good.
That's fine.
I'm humble, so I won't try and take the credit. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
It's because I've already taken it, Dan.
Yeah.
It's all mine.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And if there's, I was going to say a naughty joke then, but I realised where we are, so I won't. So, lads, we'll start with Dan because I kind of know what Sam's been up to because me and Sam have been on a little adventure together. In fact, you were there. We've all been together.
Yeah, I was there.
You were there.
Oh no!
It's because you didn't top 8. So anyway, lads. So what have you been up to recently, in life and in Magic?
Sam, do you want to go first?
I just heard the add-on of life there, and that's completely taken me off guard. In my day-to-day life, I've just started playing Death Stranding again to celebrate the second Death Stranding coming out. I want to get that finished and move on to the second one.
I don't even know what that is.
Kojima is a mad scientist of a game designer, and Death Stranding is just sick, but it takes a lot of time, and I'm trying to get around to that. Magic-wise, too busy top 8 in events. What about you, Dan? How's it been going with you?
Too busy coming ninth in the same event and losing the top 8 winning in.
Oh, mate, ninth is like such a triggering place to be.
You know what? I didn't even look at the standards. I'm just assuming that I came ninth. But no, the three of us and our team captain Jack, we went to Modern for Fetches, which was a modern event run by Nick Dent Hall, I want to say his name is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Judge out of Manchester.
Judge out of Manchester. Really, really nice guy. Hi, Nick. Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Nick, thank you very much for having us, and thank you for running such a great, well-organised event. I had a lot of fun, even though I didn't, win it or come in top 8. I had loads of fun. I'm starting to enjoy Modern a bit more now that I'm playing a deck that doesn't have a basic mounted in.
Yeah, because you were on Living End, right?
Yep.
Sure
was.
And Sam, you were on Belcher, which you top 8'd.
Yeah, Blue Belcher. Yeah, top 8'd with Blue Belcher. In the Swiss, wasn't able to ID in round 4, so I had to play it out. But I lost. I was 3-0, lost the Kefis combo, and then was able to ID with yourself, Josh, into the top 8. Dan, if you want to play a good deck with basic mountain in it, just play Belcher. Easy. And Josh...
Yeah, maybe you should, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should. I've been screaming it into the oblivion, to be fair. But Josh, we ID'd in top 8. I was on Belcher. You were on Belcher as well, right?
No.
Oh?
No.
What are we doing over? Oh, you're on Psychic Frog, right?
Psychic Frog, baby.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I was unleashing my I guess fascination with frogs, and also my mother issues were coming out because I was reanimating a big Atraxa out of the graveyard. So yeah, I was on Goryo's Vengeance. It was a very fun deck.
Yeah.
It's I managed to be able to ID with yourself. I went 3-1-1 in the Swiss, and then I lost in the semi-finals to Bax. I couldn't play around Blood Moon because I was just making land drops instead of fetch lands. So I was like, if I untap here, I just win because I had the turn 3 Atraxa, or the turn, what would have been, I played tap land turn 2, Frog turn 3, and then I had the Atraxa reanimate turn 4 if he didn't have the Blood Moon, and he had the Blood Moon, and I couldn't answer it. And it knocked me out. Yeah, it was brutal.
I mean, at least you got to ID with Sam in to get into the top 8. Me and Sam played against each other round 1, and it's a horrendous matchup for me. Got swiftly O2'd, and I went and sat outside and in the back, soaked up some sun, and
But you did win though. You arguably won the biggest prize because basically Nick ran an excellent tournament. So he had support from Axion. So they had a giveaway for Axion. He was going to give away to the winner, like an entry. Now a modern for was it a mega mod entry, and that's about £70 for the entry. But he decided to raffle that away instead of giving it to the winner, which I thought was a great idea because it includes everybody. And you won that raffle as you left. You did the raffle as you left, and I had to text you. You won it. So you'll be going to Mega Modern.
In Cardiff.
Cardiff, yep.
Cardiff.
Hotels booked.
Nice.
Gonna spend some time. It would be nice.
Cardiff's great. I mean, I live like so far from Cardiff, but Cardiff's great. You might see Emo Dave there. Shout out to Emo Dave.
Yeah.
So so you're going to Megabodden courtesy of the tournament that Nick ran. It was a great. It went the full 9 rounds. Was it? Is it? So 5 rounds in the Swiss and 3, obviously in the top 8. We had the full 9 rounds. They end up, I think, Bax and another lad end up IDing, prize splitting in the end. The finals for it was Boros, Energy, and Brood-Scale combo. The top 8 was varied. We had I've got the actual list here, but from the top of my head, it was Brood-Scale, your Boros Energy, Belcher, Goryo's Vengeance, Kethis combo. Zoo.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
2 Zoo decks.
2 Zoo decks, and what was the last one? Can't mind. I've got them written down somewhere. I'll dig them out at some point. But yeah, it was a really varied meta. There was 3 Goryo's Vengeance players in the room, which I was really annoyed with because I hate the mirror. The mirror is absolutely horrendous. But luckily I didn't see any of them, so it was fine. This actually brings me on to something I do want to talk about, which is the RCQ system. Because the way the RCQ system is, especially in the UK, is you pay in amount of money, but the conversion for prizes, like the EV for prizes, if you don't win, is actually really awful. I mean, we've had stories of stores, you top 8 and you get a pack. To me, if you top 8, you should at least get your money back as a minimum. We spoke about this with Old Emo Dave. Shout out again to Old Emo Dave. So having this tournament for prizes was a breath of fresh air because Nick was like, I want to do a modern tournament that is competitive, that is regular rules enforcement, but with the flavour of competitive. So no missed triggers, none of that stuff, no takesies, backsies, all that. But it was still the air of like, we're here for prizes. We're not here to try and qualify. So people would like bring in decks that they enjoy playing. People were bringing like there was a good vibe. There was no feel bads for not top 8ing because everyone got something. It was just a really great little tournament that he ran. And I feel like the RCQ system in the UK, people are like not getting out of bed for these sort of. People are like traveling to RCQs, getting really disappointed because they've O2 dropped. For like one slot, like 50 player 1 slot at RCQs, which the prize support's awful, and because they're running like pretty much every other weekend, it's really hard to fit these like unconsequential tournaments in where you just battling for just prizes just for fun. And I really liked the fact that Nick did that, and I'm glad I made the effort to go because it was such a cool time. Everyone was in a good mood. Everyone was happy. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was just openly talking about the decks because it doesn't really matter. We're here to play Magic. It was about the Magic, not about the 1 slot RCQ spot, that everyone's fighting over. And yeah, it says something about, I think, about the RCQ system and the competitive Magic scene in the UK, and it's a bit behind, I think, compared to
it was nice. It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was.
I like you going on about everyone being chirpy and happy just goes to show that we ID'd and we didn't talk much because, as always, I was not chirpy and happy. But no, it was a good event. I'm happy to. I think the main issue with the RCQ system is that in America, it is not uncommon for people to travel hours for a larger event with good price support. In the UK, we don't really do that as much unless it's for your action events or something on the similar level. I imagine the Spotlight later this year in Liverpool is going to have people traveling down, but like it just, you win or you lose at an RQ. You win the invitation or you have lost the event, and it's like that. That sort of stuff is a hard pill to swallow. Like I've played in one this season, and like did fine, but they're expensive. That you got to travel to them, and I just at the minute I don't really have the energy to really push for a qualification.
It's I mean, like, you look at the states I see on Twitter all the time, just queued 2-slot F&M RCQ, because when we spoke about this, the RCQ's like $50 for RCQ pack, and we're paying at the stores in the UK paying like £150, and they're getting probably the worst promos I've seen in a long time, and there's just nothing for it. It's like it's such bad like EV, and you're getting players who quite easily could do well in the RC or RC level and just not getting the qualifications because there's just limited opportunity. And it's often better just to try and go to the RC itself and just try and win an LCQ than it is to actually try and like qualify in the UK at the moment.
Do you want to hear my fix for the RCQ system at the moment?
Go back to the PTQ system?
No, it's nothing that smart, Josh. I'm not very good logistic.
RPTQ.
So my immediate fix for whatever's going on, top 8 promos, Mox Opal.
Oh, you'd get absolutely people will be wanting top 8. Like the thing is, like, because we had this conversation in a previous pod where if your goal is to, like, if you have like a bracket system where, like, in an RC, 1 to 2 gets Worlds, 1 to 32 gets Pro Tour, 32 to 64 get re-invite to the next RC. If you had that level of I guess, you could keep
staggered prizes
where you could keep playing for something, or you've got a goal to keep playing. Because, like, you go to an RCQ, you're 0-2, you're like, oh, I'm just going to go home. Because it's arguably in RCQ the best result is 0-2, because then you're not wasting your day. Like, because if you get losing the finals, which I did on my last RCQ, it's like, it feels terrible. It feels like what?
You just waste your entire day. You waste your entire day. You got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, your day's over. You got nothing to show for it.
It's a stressful time as well. It's such a stressful time. Like, you're over-evaluating every single card in your 75 just to show up, and then either go all to, and then you don't feel as bad about it, or just make it all the way to the final. It's awful.
Shout out to Chad Magic member Christian, who just top 8 every single RCQ they play in, and then always gets knocked out in the quarters of the semis due to bad luck or variants catching up with them, and it's just, that is brutal stuff. This is why I choose to be bad at Magic, because then I just get to go home early most of the time. Big brain plays.
You say you're bad, but you do well, man. The thing is with I know we're bashing the RSQ system before we talk about other things, but I guess if we do talk about it, creates a discourse that hopefully moves to change. But it's that feel bad that is real annoying. Like, because there's no feel bad, like, because I think even Nick ran a quite a cheap draft afterwards, didn't he? Like, for the people
ran it alongside the top 8.
Yeah, ran it alongside the top 8. So people drafting as well. So it's just a good, like, those sort of like tournaments just don't seem to be popping up anymore, and it's a shame, really. Like, but yeah, shout out to people like Nick, community driven sort of stuff, and class.
Thanks,
cool.
Nick.
So, shall we talk about the modern format at the moment and how we're finding it, and how we how we're enjoying it, how we're not enjoying it, how well we think the format looks, etc. Dan, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So top dog in modern at the minute is still obviously Boris Energy. It's just still a great deck. We spoke about it many times, and if you don't know what Boris Energy is, you're sleeping under a rock. There's been a few like new decks that have been popping up, sort of like Jeskai Wizards, and
that deck is getting
along them lines with like Thunder Trap Trainers, the Snapcaster Mages, and Flare of Denials. I think the deck's in its very, very early stages at the minute, so there's not a refined list, but like we were talking about it earlier on today, and it looks like a really, really solid list. I was arguing that Vivi should be in the list, but then it's how do you squeeze it in, and whether you're playing Vivi, is it just going to be a completely different deck?
That was for the Opal list, though, wasn't it? With the Tameo Opals,
with repeals, yeah,
repeals,
that's
that,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more so fitting in with the Jeskai Ascendancy deck, like what we had Myra on a few weeks back now. So I'd imagine Vivi would slot perfectly into there. Yeah. No, I'm really, really enjoying Modern at the minute. I've very, very nearly completed Living End. I'm like 3 Force Negation and 1 Endurance away.
Only 3 Force Negation. Just a
only 3, yeah.
Just a cool 130, 120 quid away.
Yeah, give or take. And I'm already looking at picking up Neo Brand because I know that you two absolutely despise this deck.
Just
from watching videos, I think it looks fun.
Yeah,
right?
It's probably just fun.
Love Neo Brand. What I can't do is play it because decks like Neo Brand get such a interesting. They're always put under a microscope, right? It's all right. Glass cannon, move on type energy.
That's right,
Josh. But no, when I play the deck, you go in your head, right? Get Gristlebrand into play, draw 14, win. And I was just like making misplays left, right, and center. And what I really like about a deck like Neobrand is obviously people know me as a combo enjoyer. Nobody's ever asked me this, but the reason I don't play Amulet Titan is because I find Amulet Titan really hard to figure out where you went wrong as you play. Because you can justify a lot of lines, and then you're like, well, if I can't figure out where I went wrong, I can't improve my gameplay. And if I can't improve my gameplay, then we're stagnant, and that's a horrible place to be in Magic.
Yeah.
A deck like Neobrand, I played it when 2 turns later, I was like, right, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have done this. And it's got really cool lines. And Allosaurus Rider is just such a sick card. Let's be honest. It's a dinosaur, bro. Let's go. It's so cool. It's awesome. Nice choice, Dan. Nice choice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be testing it out because I want to for the Mega Mod in Cardiff. It's either going to be Living End or Neoform.
So sick, man.
You don't really see many Neoform players though. So I guess you could do pretty well with it. Like Living End is sort of like people get Living End, but like Neoform, there's so many ways to build it as well. And like, where's your will and condition going to come? You know. But all I'm saying is like I have 100% win rate against Neobrand.
Yeah, same.
It's so.
I'm running like 4 forces and 4 subtleties. It's insane.
Yeah. A subtlety against that.
Oh, bro, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
insane.
Absolutely obscene card.
Nice Veil of Summer, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick.
Also, Teferi's really good against it because I actually they got a Gristlebrand out and I managed to resolve a Teferi, and then in their upkeep they died to like 2-pack triggers or 3-pack triggers because they couldn't consign them.
Oh, nice. That's right.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
I don't know. What was putting me on it is like Living End is like a turn 4 win. Like you can get a load of creatures out, but you know, Neoform is that you could just win on turn 2 out of the blue. And I feel like in a closed deck list as well, even though Axion's like a big event, it's still closed deck list. So I feel like you could probably do well in an event like that. You could just show up and spike a tournament.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you know how to play it more, obviously, if you know how to play it more than what your opponent knows how to play against it, then you're going to have a good time with it.
Yeah.
The Cyborg cards are quite strict as well. So obviously, Force Negation aren't ideal. That's fine. You've got some Cyborg cards for those. But like, on deck, considering you asked me, Josh, Modern's been going quite well for me. I'm going to steal Dan's spotlight now. And like, I think that Belcher is still very good, which is why I play it.
I think
paper.
It's very good, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as Belcher is well positioned, I will continue to play it in paper. That's just the sort of rule of law I've got to go over the moment. But on Modo, I've been trying out loads of different decks. Been looking at the flicker piles quite a bit, and at the minute I'm experimenting with Tron and Ramp just to be able to play those a little more. As much as I go, I'm a combo enjoyer. I actually do like to play a lot of decks. Like my most recent trophy was a Boris Energy. Like that deck was pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I think that puts Neobrand in the discussion a little bit more is this format is a fantastic Forties format, and people are not playing Forties enough. And
I just cut Thoughtseize out of my Goryo stick because I didn't really like it there.
Yeah, but to be fair to Goryo's, you are cheating in an Atraxa instead.
Yeah.
So like you can kind of get away with not having Forties, but like I was on Black White Flicker, got paired into Neobrand. I'm like, on paper this should be good, right? I've got Forties, I've got Inquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Forties them twice, lost because Black White lacks that clock.
Yeah.
And the moment you come into connection with these Dudley decks, like, yeah, it's Gristlebrand time, baby. Let's go.
So considering you brought it up, so the problem I have been having with Thoughtseize is your Thoughtseize. Like I lost a game where I Thoughtseized them twice, and I was like, they just drew the card like that they needed, or I was like, which card do I take? Like I'm not sure what deck it was against, but I found like especially Thoughtseizing like the black white deck against them, for example. I was like, well, Thoughtseize your Solitude, for example, and then they get an Overlord of the Bailmerk out, or you look at the hand and they've got like Solitude, 2 Bailmerks, and something else, and you're like, Jen, no matter what I take here, they're just going to get it back with Overlord. So I feel like I'm a bit against Thoughtseize. I think Exile effects are really good right now in Modern. So like Dreams of Steel and Oil is probably underplayed a bit, and I think like Force Negation is a lot better. So I've gone up on my Force Negations and gone down on my Thoughtseizers because of that reason. I just felt like taking 2, especially because it can be quite an aggressive format. I think prowess has gone down a little bit because people realise that the deck is very good. But
it's
prowess
fallen off the face of the earth.
Yeah, because it's just easy to once you figure out how to beat it, it's just easy. And then Boros Energy is still it's played a lot less Boros Energy, but it's still the top dog. And I do think that Boros Energy is we had one Boros Energy player on that tournament we had in Manchester. I think that was 20 odd players or something. But there's only one Boros Energy player, but they managed to get to the finals. I do think the deck is very well good. The deck is clean. The deck has got a good game plan. There's loads of content there to learn the deck. So I think Thoughtseize is like taking 2 life is like, especially in a fetch shock format, is
yeah, it feels rough.
It feels roughly. I'd rather just not do that, and I'd rather be answering a permanence on the battlefield, or just fighting on the stack is the way I would approach it. That's just to talk about Thoughtseize just there because it was there.
Yeah. But I think honestly, Modern's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I think as much as people are kind of getting a bit of like dry mouth with Boros now, like every time they're paired into it, they've always got the guide into Pride, into Ajani, into Bombardment, into Flage. But it's like we've said this repeatedly, like all of us, Boros is not a bad best deck to have.
No, it's really not.
It really isn't.
It's an aggressive deck, and it gives you turns, and it doesn't stop you playing Magic. Even though I did lose the Blood Moon, it doesn't stop you playing Magic, where you can get the really egregious draws, but people are realizing, people are now innovating now, so they're thinking, right, what cards are really good? Well, the Modern's a battlefield is on the battlefield format now, so Wrath of the Skies is really good. That's why the Jeskai Wizards decks come to things. They play 3 to 4 copies of Wrath of the Skies. Wrath of the Skies is really good right now. Things like Pest Control is really good right now. Just Pest Control can wipe out against Boros Energy. So can Wrath of the Skies. It hits the Sagas. People were thinking, Saga's going to get going to overdrive with the new Blood Moon in themselves, and then making loads of constructs. But that is just too slow for Modern. Like that is just way too slow for Modern. If you're tapping out to make a construct that can be pest controlled, or can be Wrath of Sky, or can be bounced and it disappears or whatever, that's like, and you've got a really proactive game plan, that's like really bad. I do think it's a shame that the Murktide sort of lists are dropping off a little bit because of the way Modern is right now. Like it is on, you are fighting more so on the battlefield, so like Counterspell is at an all-time low. On the stack interactions all the time, because it's like there's so many, Modern's so wide open right now, like there's so many different decks that you can definitely qualify with, that I think bringing a dedicated tempo control deck with limited threats or not game winning threats on the spot is kind of puts you at a disadvantage. So yeah, like the
That
tempo.
was the problem that like sort of like Merktide had at the RC at the start of the year in was it Ghent? No, not Ghent. Wherever it was.
Yeah.
Like Merktide, it couldn't answer everything that was in the
Yeah.
format, so it was struggling to build a 75 that was worth playing to do well at the tournament.
But then you've got like
and that was. Oh, go on, Josh. Sorry.
So now they're trying to be more unfair with Oculus, but
Yeah,
Oculus
yeah.
can just get solituded really easy, and they're really low on
Yeah.
threats as well. Like you could have like all the answers and then have no clock.
Yeah.
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 Don't get me wrong though, if you nail an Oculus, then
It's pretty good.
and they don't have a
It's only-
solo shoot, then yeah, you're probably winning that game, right?
Yeah, and that spotlight was Utrecht, I think. But it's like I think Murktai just kind of swam around for because it had didn't really have an awful matchup. It had okay ones and then really, really good ones. And now with Black White and Esper Flicker really
Such a bad matchup for
cementing
them.
itself, it's just they now have an atrocious matchup.
Yeah.
Which is why we've seen it fall off so much because like it was kind of like it wasn't Murktide was never the alpha predator, but it existed very comfortably in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And now Black White has come and, puffed its chest out and really pushed it away.
Murktide was an unforgiving deck, so if you made the wrong decision or thing, there's no coming back from that. Where like something like Goryo's what I'm playing now, like you can literally be like, oh, I made the wrong decision there. Oh, I've got an Atraxa now. Boom! All my bad decisions have just been erased away. So like when Murktide didn't have that, if you play perfect. Now the problem is you could play perfectly but not have the right answer at the right time.
Yeah.
Because you're against. I don't know. You keep a hand 2 fatal pushes, and then you just see, then they cast a Neoform or Tron or something. You're like, ugh. Like, there's so many polarizing things, but I do think the Grixis control version is probably the better tempo deck right now because Flame of Anor just really is like such a good card right now. Like Flame of Anor is amazing because it can be like a 3-for-1 almost because you can answer something on the board, which we've already established that it's an on the board format, and draw 2 cards or just kill 2 of their things. It's like mental. It's so good, such a good card right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
You get to play Ragavan too.
Yeah, well, yes. Those that start playing Ragavan.
Ooh, okay.
You get to play Kozilek's command. Colligan's command.
Yeah. But also like Thundertrap Trainer is actually really good right now because you can get your flare denials, fill in.
Jumping on the bandwagon, are we, modern players?
Yeah. And
Sorry,
then,
carry on, Josh.
Which turbos out your Flage. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Modern. I really enjoy Modern right now. I think it's exciting. I think it's not as it's not stale at all. It's not easy to crack, I don't think, because people like the Flicker decks, but now people are innovating against the Flicker decks. I've certainly done some innovation against them. I was struggling against the Flicker decks, but now my record is positive now, with a few little spice inclusions that I've put into the sideboard and stuff, and people are realizing that it's the format's great. I don't think there's a really an oppressive deck. I don't think. No. I think the format can be annoying because you can just sort of lose on the spot kind of thing. I do think Modern is very fast. I prefer a slower format, but yeah, it's great. I'm really enjoying Modern. Like I'm happy. I'm happy Modern is where it is. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Sure.
I'm going to need to steal some of your innovation though, Josh, because I am the exact opposite. I'm like 0-5 against the Black White Flicker deck. So I'm going to need to steal some of your motivation on Living End. It just doesn't seem all that favoured, but
Yeah, it's pretty tough. But then subtlety again is very important.
You think it'd be the Black White version. You think it'd be fine because you just board wipe theirs and then play the creatures. But the problem is they fill the graveyard with Overlord.
Yeah, that's the problem. So you need like subtleties and endurances at the same time.
So my tech against them is actually subtlety. I'm playing subtlety and Goryo's Vengeance, and it's been fantastic. Yeah. It's just been so good. Like I won. Like, have you ephemerated a subtlety to keep the card the top deck on top of the card? I was playing on the semi-final in that the quarterfinals in that Modern tournament we had. I was against an Oculus player, and they kept tapping out for Graveyard Trespasser, so I subtletied it, attacked, and then they had a turn where they just held up counter spell, and I just didn't play anything. And then I attacked with subtlety, and then they played an Oculus, like a fair Oculus, tapped out for it, and then I just ephemerated my own subtlety, and they were like, I ended up killing them with it. So it was brilliant. So yeah, subtlety's really good right now. I think
That's horrible.
Yeah,
it is.
So
it is fun.
and I know nobody really plays it in Gorillaz either, so they weren't expected. But yeah, modern, super exciting, super good. We'll talk about. I don't think the BnR is going to touch modern, but we will talk about modern if Anthony's banned later. But you lads happy to move on to standard?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. So last weekend we had the Pro Tour.
Yep.
Yes.
It was Pro Tour Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys catch much of it?
All of it, basically. I watched the whole thing.
I watched the top 8. This is the first top 8 in a very long time where I've sat there and watched all 7 of the games get played out. And it's refreshing to see that there was, even though there was 8 aggressive decks, it was refreshing to see that rather than a domain mirror like at the last PT. Like the PT final, the last one, lasted longer than that entire top 8 did.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm pushing the ball out a bit too much there, but it was refreshing to see. And as an aggro enjoyer like myself, it was interesting. I learned a fair few bits from it. There's a few lines that me and Sam were discussing before we started recording. But massive congratulations to Ken Yukihiro. Finally managed to get his win.
Yeah, it was
many PT topics.
So I looked at the meta breakdown and I was like, I'm not bothering, because it was like 42%.
Yep, 42. Yeah.
Red, like if you count Monstrous Rage decks in that, it was like 42%, which was worse.
No, it was 42% of is it?
And then it was
red involved. It was like 60%. It was
So like I was just like, nah. I mean, it'd probably be interesting, but I was like, we were playing modern. It was better, and I just didn't bother. But I did watch the final, and the final was a fantastic game of Magic, and the reaction of the winner. What was his name again? Sorry,
Ken Yukihiro.
Ken, yeah, his reaction was just like so wholesome. I rewatched the ending like 3 or 4 times because his reaction was just so. Because usually, like, you see Pro Tour players like jumping in, like doing all this, but he just like very graciously just let his emotions out and covered his face, started crying with happiness, and I was like, this guy worked for this. You can just tell.
Yeah,
this
is a long journey as well.
You just see like a dream come true, and from like someone who probably didn't really believe in themselves as much as they should. And that was just like, I don't know, like that. I thought it was dead wholesome. I just wanted to be his dad.
Yeah, it was he genuinely, I think, for one, just want to call out, last week me and Dan talked about predictions. I predicted no Omni in the top 8, and I was there. I was on the money. But no, I think Ken is obviously a very, very good player. Let's not to ever take that away. But there's the right amount of being humble and being confident.
Yeah.
And he literally said throughout the Pro Tour when we were getting to the late stage in the interviews, he went, "I'm the best mono red player in this room."
Yeah.
And like to know and like, oh, he's big headed. No, it's like it's definitely a I can do this type energy rather than I'm amazing and sick and be beaten type energy. And just to see a very talented player go, no, I can do this. What I'm doing right now, I'm the best at what I'm doing. And that's just seeing that confidence, that drive. And then, as Josh said, the very humble endings of, we got there. Wearing a Final Fantasy t-shirt, very fitting for the occasion. I just want to discuss Ian Robb's run as well. Absolutely insane
player. Insane
Absolutely.
Player.
So, second Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Finished second. First Pro Tour, he top 8'd.
He was also didn't he also win like a world championship in Pokemon as well?
Yeah, he is got 101 accolades in Pokemon, and I'm fairly confident he has Yu-Gi-Oh as well. That Yu-Gi-Oh shivers, but
horrible.
He's got horrible game.
Horrible.
But he is a card game player, should we say? Yeah, very cool.
it's like fair play to him as well. Like at the very end, when Ken was sort of like breaking down in tears after winning his first Pro Tour, like any other player would just be like, I don't really know what to do, and just like sort of scoop your cards up, put them away, and get off. But he was there. He was like sort of consoling him across the table. Even through
he said
he was great.
Didn't he say to Ken as well, like, you deserve this, well done?
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's a great player, really good player. He's a nice man.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that energy, Magic. That like,
yeah,
it's what it's all about, and I think that being a humble loser is much more difficult than being a humble winner.
Yeah,
and you know, competitive Magic has had a lot of fingers pointed at it recently. Cheating allegations, DCI number going, not enough people on it. A lot of because one thing I noticed is that if anyone made a misplay at any point, everyone was like, "This person is cheating."
yeah.
And it's like it just doesn't work like that.
It's a massive witch. It's a witch hunt culture at the moment.
It's a witch hunt.
I do think that cheats should be harshly, more harshly reprimanded or harshly sort of approached with. I do think that. I think there's no space for it. But I do think that, you know, we had a friend of ours who was accused of cheating in the last Pro Tour, and like we know that person, and it's like there's no way, like that was just an F&M mess up, you know, someone
on camera
and it's just on camera. And I know backstage when they went back to the teams, he was like, I can't believe what I've just done. Explained it, and they were like, oh, that's, and there's a big witch hunt going after them. I'm not going to mention names, but you know, it's like I know this person like for years and years and years, and this is a genuine person who's just had just a brain fart and just did something that they would do at F&M or whatever, and not realize that pro level rel, like, and it looked terrible. But you know, there's that big witch hunt. It's not like the Kaito-in cards from the knee or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like the genuinely just like, oh, what am I doing? Like, why am I behaving this way? And it's a real witch hunt, and I think that, you know, immediately just jumping on the cheat thing, it's a really hard subject. Maybe we could do a podcast on it, but it's a really hard subject to cover because intent is so hard to prove. Until it's obvious. Like if you're putting cards in your belt or in your pocket or up your sleeve, then that's obvious the intent's there. But
marking Tron lands,
for example, obviously the intent's there, but you know, it's
super tricky as well when all of these limited formats now play out like Cube. I've played a lot of Cube, and every time I play Cube, I go, oh, this does that with this, and you know, you go on from there. Final Fantasy is a very complicated limited format. A lot of cards have a lot of text on them. It's not like we used to have, where cards were 3-mana 3/2s, and that was semi-playable. These limited formats are super intense, and like it's so easy to misread. There was when I played Final Fantasy, there was a card, I read it and I went, okay, and then I read it again and I was like, okay, and then I played it and it does something different, because these cards just have so many and they operate in such a specific way. It's just, I wouldn't, to be fair, my general rule is, if it's a mistake you could make, don't point a finger. You know, we could all make that type of mistake at an F&M. F&Ms are 3 rounds. Pro Tours are 15. Like, you know,
that's actually a really good thing to live by. Like, if you would make that mistake, then you should hold yourself, because it's all well and good being sat at home in your pants, scranning popcorn when watching the Pro Tour and not realizing that, you know, they don't have the pressure of people watching them. They don't have the pressure of like, oh my god, my round 1 opponent is Reed Duke and this is my first Pro Tour. You know, that sort of pressure. You're like, that's a lot. You know what I mean? A lot to think about beyond the game of Magic. And it's quite easy.
What I love about Twitch chat?
Yeah.
Step 1, you have not made the Pro Tour, so just have patience. By definition, you have not made the Pro Tour this time around. So just cut some slack. Very cool event, though, as always.
Yeah.
Even with such a strange dynamic, the top 8 was so weird because it's the only time, I think, in Pro Tour history, it was only 2 decks that were represented. Fair enough.
It was great.
But on the breakers and the stand-ins, in the those decks only played against each other in the Swiss and in the quarters and the semis. So like just it felt like an act of God, essentially, the fact that it lined up so perfectly. And watching pros play aggro mirror matches, nothing better in life. So cool. So cool.
Because with the sort of 5-color domain piles, it was like so swingy, and like it was hard to really recognize where the skill is. But when you like when they're holding back threats, when you're like, oh, why don't you just play that threat, and then and then it turns out you realize why they're doing it or what happens, and you're like, that is next level.
Yeah.
Like even the last Pro Tour when I saw someone cast a Monstrous Rage in their opponent's end step to get exactly lethal on the backswing, it's like
it's just insane.
That's where like, because I don't really play aggro too often. Like I used to play aggro all the time. Like I don't really play aggro too often, and I think like aggro is like it's like some of the purest form of Magic. It's almost like control mirrors, you know, purest form of Magic. It's like it's a bit like that, you know. And I used to love aggro mirrors. Like I used to love, like, you know, back in Amonkhet I was on black red, and I used to love the mirrors. Like it was so polarizing to when it came down to skill and timing and when to attack and when to hold off and where do you point your removal spells, etc. Like it's just so it is good to see that, but it is a problem having that much of a meta share.
Yeah, and you know, I love looking at aggro mirrors like bare knuckle boxing. There's skill, there's talent, it's dirty, let's go.
Yeah.
That's not what it's a great portion of your format to have. It's not what you want the entire format to be.
Yeah.
And look, like me and Dan, I actually, you know, we were talking about this last week, weren't we, Dan, in the fact that, look, it's the Pro Tour metagame. These things are secluded and aren't a full representation of the actual meta. Like we were saying, why would you not play the best deck in the room? And obviously there is some back and forth discussion. But for me personally, like, I don't think it's an horrifically accurate representation of the meta, but it's not too far away, which is quite scary. I just think that essentially, the moment there are these cards that are better than everything else, you have sacrificed a percentage of your metagame share to that card. Corey Seal Cutter is absolutely running rampant everywhere it can be. Card is pretty gross, and to be honest, like, I think it's pretty safe to say a lot of people might actually disagree with me on this. Say, my first prediction for the ban list is Corey Seal Cutter. It is not a flagship card of a set. Corey Seal Cutter does not sell boosters, and it's not particularly fun to play with or play against. And I think that's the first card to chop. What do you guys think?
So, it is absolutely fun to play with, but when you're playing against it, it's not so fun. Especially when you've got cards like Stock Up, you've got Sight of Hands, like these cheap sort of cantrips in a way where you just keep on going and going and going and going and going. Get a load of monk tokens, make them monk tokens really, really big, and then attack through because it's got trample as well. I think that the card does a little bit too much. Giving it haste or trample, I think would be okay, but then giving it haste and trample is a little bit too much. But I would agree that Corey Steel Cutter should be banned. Like it was, again, it was a 42.6% of the Pro Tour meta. Because the pros, the best players in the world, have identified that is the best deck in standard currently. So that's where everyone shifted onto it.
So I've got a comment on Corey Seal Cutter. So if you think back when we had a previous standard pod where we talked about the triangle of Magic, you had the the main deck, then you had the
Domain, Pixies, Mono Red.
Yeah, Domain, Pixies, Mono Red. That was like the trifecta, and it was like a perfect balance, wasn't it? It was like almost like a rock, paper, scissors, perfect balance, and then other decks can just slot in between there depending which one you wanted to beat. So it was kind of a really healthy standard format, really happy standard format with that. But what Wizards did with Corey Steel Cutter is that they put this really egregious, really powerful red deck into the red part of that triangle, which meant that it turned the triangle into almost a top heavy fraction in a way. So the red decks are now got Monstrous Rage, Corey Steel Cutters, cheap cantrips, cheap interactions, prowess creatures. So you're rewarded for casting spells. Now, this is like the problem. They've just printed too many good things in that sort of section of the triangle, and now the red decks are like in overdrive because there's no rock paper scissors elements, because they just have a good matchup against everything. And Corey Steelcutter is the reason for that. Now I'm thinking the ban should potentially be in Monstrous Rage, because Monstrous Rage is the glue that's holding the red decks together. It's the glue it's like ending the games. It's almost giving you like making your blocks awkward. It's making your exchanges really weird. So I think Monstrous Rage is probably a card that, you know, maybe Corey Steelcutter another cycle, without playing too much standard or watching too much of the standard metagame. But I do think that the Monstrous Rage has been one of the, it's sort of the bad guy that has been talked about, and the only reason it didn't get banned in the last BnR was because it would send that balance off if it did.
Yeah, you had that trifactor.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, Josh. For me, the problem with Monsters Rage. Now, I was petrified in the last BnR cycle because I was assuming that Monsters Rage was just going to get banned and I'd have to find a new deck to play. For me, if you take Corey Steelcutter out of the meta, just throw it away, then you now have that trifecta back of a really, really good mid-range deck. You've got a really, really good aggro deck, even with Monsters Rage still in the format, and then also a really, really good control deck in the form of Domain Overlords. For me, the reason why Mono Red aggro did so well at the Pro Tour is because you didn't have that mid-range deck to keep it in check. So, say Golgari mid-range, shout out to Marco, and the mid-range, it's got an atrocious matchup against both of those decks. And because you've not seen as many of those decks, like Demir, I'm looking at a picture now, you've got 3.3% of the meta, and Golgari mid-range is somewhere in the other category. So I think if you keep Monsters Rage in, then you've still got that trifactor. I'm not fully disagreeing. I think something does need to go out of the mono red deck pile, but I just don't think it's Monsters Rage.
Okay.
I think it's Manifold Mouse more than anything.
Yeah.
You've got like your miserable turns in mono red for your opponent anyway, not for me. Is like turn 1 Heartfire, turn 2 Manifold Mouse for 4, and then next turn you're attacking for 7, and you've got a Monstrous Rage, you've got Burst Lightning, Lightning Strike, like you're essentially killing somebody on turn 3. So if you take Manifold Mouse out of the equation, then it stops any possibility of mono red sort of clawing back a win against the mid-range decks and the control decks through sort of like Ember Heart challenges, or just a Heartfire hero that can't get killed, otherwise it's just a lethal trigger. But Monsters Rage, I think it's still fine to keep in the format. It's for me the two ones that I'd be looking at being banned is Manifold Mouse and Corey Steelcutter.
Yeah,
Okay. I'd be happy.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree. There is one more card I'd like to throw in for attention, guys. So it's very hard to admit what cards are actually a problem in formats. By admit, I mean C. Like in my opinion, nothing's going to get banned in Modern. Okay, let's just start there. I think Modern's a-okay. I think I don't
think they are they? I don't think they are going to touch Modern.
No, they've said they won't.
They sent comms out. I'm pretty sure I've seen somewhere that Modern's not going to get touched.
But that just means it's going to be 16 bans anyway. But for me, the closest card to being banned in Modern is Mishra's Bauble. Has been for ages. Card's crazy.
Spicy.
But
I would ban other things first.
It's not.
I'd ban other things first.
I think Mishra's Bauble enables a lot of shenanigans, one of which being Corey Steelcutter. So it's hard to overlook. It's hard to overhype a card like a rare mythic. So like, oh my god, Screaming Nemesis. Because it's a mythic, it costs 20 quid. It's the card you remember losing to. Standard is actually, with the way Standard's constructed, with so many sets in, there is a ceiling for cards like Corey Steelcutter, for example. We're never going to see a card that does that better than that, because it's a very unique shoe to fill. But the building blocks of Standard at the moment, the commons and uncommons, are actually incredibly powerful.
Yeah, stock up and...
Modern playable cards are insane.
I genuinely think you've got
Vintage
Opt,
playable.
you've got Sleight of Hand, and you've got Stock Up as the 3 cards I would consider also taking out, because they're just too efficient. In my opinion, it would be, if I was to do the ban list, it would be Corey Steelcutter, Manifold Mouse, and Stock Up. I think Stock Up is absolutely obscene.
So
it gives the Izzet too much fuel. It's just gross.
The thing is as well, like with the Stock Up as well, it does enable the Omni decks to be super efficient, but it also means that the control players gives control players viability. It is also a turn 3 do nothing in standard.
Like in standard, in the Izzet prowess mirrors, if you cast a turn 3 Stock Up, you're essentially signing
you're just dead.
your own death certificate. Yeah,
I don't think Stock Up is a turn 3 card though. Like especially if you're in a control deck or a mid range deck or something like that, I don't think you should. I mean, there's probably certain mirrors the mirror might do it turn 3, but I get it definitely against the aggressive decks. In aggressive mirrors, for example, if you're casting that's your turn 3 play, you're probably dead.
Yeah, I just think that these the way that we have scheduled ban announcements scare me. So, like for example, like I kind of wanted to ban Abuelo's Awakening because I'm not going to see another ban list now for X amount of months. So I want to preemptively ban a card just so it doesn't. So I wouldn't preemptively ban Abuelo's. I'd ban Stock Up because it hits that pile as well. I know controlling mid range will get hit, but the thing is like those decks don't need Stock Up to exist, and they currently don't exist. So I think Stock Up also had pretty gross Pro Tour numbers as well. It was like 51% of decks were playing Stock Up.
Oh yeah,
it was something disgusting, and I think that Stock Up is just too efficient, too powerful for standard. And like, why should I play Dimir mid-range when I get to go for an aggro kill and Izzet, and if it doesn't work out, play Izzet mid-range instead with VVs and Stock Ups as my backup. So I would take Stock Up out as well. I think people might react to that quite negatively and be like, what the hell are you talking about? But I think if you actually think about it, look at the numbers, Stock Up is like a $15 common.
Yeah.
Like, let's not belittle the power of this card.
Yeah, it's insane.
And I do like taking a chunk out of Omni, because the worst thing you can do, remove the aggro decks and then just have combo central, because Omni is not fun to play. It's not fun to play against.
You don't want a combo deck being the best deck.
No,
you just don't.
Not in standard.
No, not in standard.
Not in standard. And like, I'm not. What do you guys think of the Stock Up idea? I think it's fantastic.
I mean,
personally,
you've got good arguments for it. I don't think they will ban that card. I think it'll literally take something out of the red decks. I think they've been really conservative, especially since that big shake up in Modern we had last year. I think from there they've been really conservative with the bans. I think they don't want to ban stuff, but they have. I think they feel like they have to, and they are slow with banning at the moment. There's no excuse for it. Like you saw it in the Nadu meta. It was like absolutely like this card needs to go. It's ruining the game. People aren't engaging with the game because of this one card. People are like putting tournaments on where it's like they were pre-banning that card. Like there was I think there was a store in the UK or America was like, we're holding this tournament. Nadu's banned. And I can't play it.
Yeah.
If you want to play this tournament, you can't play Nadu. And it's like, if that's happening, then and Wizards aren't ahead of the game, I think it's bad. I was listening to the what was I saying the other day? Eternal Durdles podcast. Shout out to those guys. They were talking about the sort of the card design at the moment, and traditionally Magic, there was a lot of decisions to make, and a lot of you had to play a card to be backed up by another card, or there's sequencing and all that good stuff. And now there's like the card design now is like you play a card and does everything. Like Corey Steelcutter just exists and does its thing. There's no way of like. You just it's just there doing its thing. Like you look at Modern, like cards like, or even Legacy, because there's like podcast cards like Tameo, that does everything itself. You know what I mean? Like it can flip itself. It can do everything itself. Stock Up is a one card, like it's basically like as good as can be as good as a tutor. You get two cards that you pick on top 5. There's these cards that just exist and they do their thing without any sort of thought or setup or anything. You just play it and it does its thing, and then I don't have to worry about it. Like, it just does it. It's just you then have to answer that one thing while the other player is then progressing their game, doing something else, like the alternate win conditions that they bring in, whether it be the aggro plan or the mid range plan or whatever. And I think the card design in Magic is prompting players to demand more from Wizards in terms of BnR, but also management. And I just don't think Wizards are particularly delivering on that.
Yeah,
no. But I have to say that it's really easy to hate on Wizards, and I know that
They know more.
Coming
They know
at
more than us, right?
Yeah, Josh is coming at it from a very balanced point of view, but a lot of people don't. And I will have to say, Wizards are smart, right? So
Yeah,
I would always give the benefit of the doubt to Wizards, but sometimes like.
They make some horrendous decisions, like they have done. Like Nadu was a horrendous decision, the way they went about that without thinking. That was not a thought process when that came out. The way they what's the other thing that they wrote about? The RCQ promos, awful. The way RCQ system is awful. There's a lot of bad decisions that they made. They're making a lot of good decisions. I just think that it's I think to negate some of the hate that they're getting if they were just more open to the comms. Like, for example, I know we're talking about more modern and standard, but if you think about other formats like or like legacy, vintage, even modern, I guess you could. They're saying like we don't want to ban pillars of formats. Well, it's like, but they won't tell us what those pillars are. Like, we can sort of guess what those pillars are, but you can't tell us what those pillars are. That this like a bit more communication probably be better, a bit more reason, because they print cards all the time, but they know what's coming in future sets. So it's like, oh, we can print this now, but we know that an answer's coming, but we don't know that as players. You know what I mean? Just
a bit more on that. So I was listening to Get Your Deck Out. I had to be very, very careful with how I said that then. I was listening to Get Your Deck Out, Oldie Will Dave. So they were doing a podcast, and they mentioned a point where these designers are coming to Wizards saying, here's a set idea, please print it. And they're printing really, really good cards in this set that are better than any cards that we've currently got, which is just, churning that forever lasting wheel of power creeping the cards that have already power creeped other cards. So it's sort of hard to imagine that, say, this time 10 years ago we had a set that had a 1-mana 1/1 with trample, and it was really, really good in draft, in limited, and there was people that was playing it in standard because it was good. And now you don't see that. You just see 1-mana 5/3s with a monstrous rage, for example. But just going back to your point from before, Sam, about stock up, keep stock up in the form. I think it's fine. I think if you
really don't.
So if you take the Corey Steelcutter out of the equation, then Is It Prowess is a bad deck. I played it before Cutter. It wasn't great. It snagged a few wins, but it just wasn't great at all. If you take stock up out of the format, then and Corey Steelcutter, then the Is It Prowess deck's definitely dead. But then Omni sort of dies a bit more. Well, it doesn't even die anymore because it just plays different cantrips anyway. Control's going to play different cantrips. So you've got like 3 steps ahead, for example. I think for me, it's either only ban Corey Steelcutter or ban something from. So it would be only Cutter or Cutter, Manifold Mouse, Omni. Because if you take Manifold Mouse out of the equation, then we've got that problem that we said before, where a combo deck's the best deck in the format.
You don't want to kill the deck,
we don't want that.
You just don't want to kill a deck outright.
Well, if you don't kill it, then it's gonna be a combo deck's then going to be the best deck in the format.
Is it?
Because it's yeah.
You just change your hate, right? Like you just change how you.
No, there's so many ways for Omni to just negate it. Like there's a card, what is it, Clarion Conqueror? It just stops any graveyard hate. It's insane.
Omni's plan for the red and the prowess matchups were to take out your bow.
Yep.
So you'd catch them game 1 with your combo, because they don't really have the spell pierces or the main deck interaction, or you can probably just beat red fast. But after that, the plan is take out the combo, play Bazers, and now they're stuck with cards like spell pierce in their hands. They sideboard into 4 over Small's,
Yep.
the White Overlord, and then scroll shift main deck to it. It's just, I think if you take stock up away, that should be enough. But then I can see that you might not want to get rid of stock up.
Yeah.
Stock up would almost feel like an Attune with Ether ban. Like, this can't be the problem, surely. But I promise you the format would be better without it. And if I'm wrong, we'll just edit that out. Easy.
I don't edit anything. I send these podcasts raw. I don't edit these podcasts, mate. Whatever says on these gets sent.
Okay, well,
I see where you're coming from, though, Sam. It's going to be interesting to see what the format looks like.
We'll just wrap up on standard there because this is going to be an over an hour podcast, but it's fine because I keep saying it's our podcast and we'll do what we want. So out of standard, then, what do you think will be banned, and what would you we've already spoke what you personally think would be banned. What do you think Wizards will do?
I wish I could pretend I knew. I think with the numbers we've seen, I think it has to be Corey Seal Cutter as a minimum. As a minimum, please, Corey Seal Cutter goes. I would like to see Manifold Mouse go, and I think the numbers show that Mouse should go. And I would like to see Stock Up to go, but I think there will be a very forward-thinking ban that they probably won't do. But at least Manifold Mouse and Corey Seal.
I think it's just going to be Corey Steel Cutter.
I think they'll be very very conservative with this ban, and I think it'll be like one card.
Yeah. I think it's like Cutter. Like the numbers have been insane, but then if you take the aggro package away, then you don't have that trifactor, and the format's just going to be a mid-range soup or a combo soup, and it's just going to be miserable. So I think you need to keep it in there. Unfortunately,
soup.
I don't know anything about Pioneer right now. I've not engaged that format in over a year.
It's a good job I do. Okay. So, if we look at Pioneer,
is Pioneer getting a BnR?
It's not been mentioned that it's not going to be part of the BnR, so we're assuming so. Mono red aggro is 24% of the meta according to Goldfish, followed behind is it Phoenix. Mono red aggro is ridiculous in Pioneer. It's just the mice package with Kamano. And you're playing Sunspine Links and Screaming Nemesis, and you're just playing like better lands like Ramanat Ruins and Sokenzans, and the Den of the Bugbears.
Near enough the standard deck, isn't it?
Literally the exact same. But you're playing cards like Reckless Rage as well. So I think something's gonna go out of the mono red decks. But then what the format looks like after the mono red deck sort of dies off.
Is Greasefang still viable?
Greasefang is probably still viable. I've seen
no.
I've seen a few people playing just like Orzhov Greasefang and just like dropping the red and dropping the green, which I'm gonna blame Sunspine Links for that because you play a lot of like untaps.
Yeah, you do.
Like non-basic.
Yeah, you do.
But then I suppose if you just ban something out of mono red, then Phoenix is just the best there.
Yeah, I was about to say Treasure Cruise is still legal, isn't it?
Yeah, Treasure Cruise is still legal.
So I get to play Treasure Cruise, Corey Steel Cutter, VV, Arclight, Phoenix the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Seems fine,
maybe
right?
one of those. Maybe one of those. Treasure Cruise needs to die. I think they've dodged that, but it's no.
Yeah. How that's
firm no. Sit in the naughty chair.
It's because with Treasure Cruise, like it's banned in the fetchland formats, but because cantrips are so efficient and there's so many cantrips now in Pioneer and Standard and all that, like these cards that fill the graveyard really efficiently.
We need to stop pretending that fetchland is a problem.
Huh?
Treasure Cruise is a problem, Josh.
Yeah, Treasure Cruise is a problem, and it's kept because this is the one place you can play Treasure Cruise because there's no fetchlands in the format. Yeah, but there's considers, opts, and sleight of hand. They just fill in your graveyard super quick. And you don't even have to tap it for 1 mana. You could 3 mana draw 3 is still pretty good rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's insane.
If you buff your VV, it costs your VV generates.
Oh my god, I forgot about VV, yeah.
And then your Treasure Cruise costs. I don't know. I'll care about Pioneer when Wizards care about Pioneer, but that sounds pretty gross.
Yeah, man. Pioneer is a format I'm not even going to engage, so I have to. I didn't have a great time testing for that format.
I cannot wait for triple Pioneer cannot wait for it. Next year, triple Pioneer seasons.
I will be a Legacy player for those seasons. I will just go back to my roots and just play Legacy.
And what would you ban in Legacy, Josh?
That's a great segue.
So the problem Legacy is having right now is that the pillars of the format are enabling the cards that are like being printed into the format. So the format is ever evolving because of the power of the sets coming out. So when you get things like Tameo or even the Ragavans, and then they're backed up by Wasteland Days, or you're getting cards like Atraxa being printed, and then they're backed up by Entomb and Reanimate, really efficient spells, and backed up by Force of Wills. Like those the thing I said about pillars before, just like we don't want to ban pillars, but they won't identify that pillars are. So if you told me like the pillars of Legacy are Days, Wasteland,
Brainstorm,
or like all those things, it's like fair one. Okay, so now we've got to ban the problem stuff. So I think things like One Ring is probably too egregious for Modern, and for Legacy, I think things like especially City Traders. Is it City Traders? You City Trader lands where you're
the 2 mana one,
where you can just turn 2 One Rings, or the mono red decks can like just like blast the hand out onto the table, and then they've also
with little effort, right, as well.
With little effort,
such little effort.
And then they can then recock with One Ring. That's probably a bit gross. The commander, the commander stuff. The stuff designed for like commander can be an issue. When like things like
initiative
came thing, but I don't think that's ban worthy. But I think like if as long as they're still on the pillars thing, I think I don't know. Like Blue Black Reanimate has been an issue because of Tomb, right? For the first they banned Grief, still best deck because they just altered it because there's so many cards in Legacy. Then they banned Troll Khazad-dûm to make it more fair. Well, they just added Bone Masters back and other things and Tameos now, because Tameo can just thingy with Brainstorm. I think Tameo will probably go one day in Legacy, but not this one.
Is Entomb just a problem then?
Well, that's the thing. I think Entomb might get the ban, which is a shame because it sort of kills one of the most entrenched decks in the form, which is
historic decks as well. I've played
Reanimator. It's like Reanimator is going to die for like Days, Wasteland, Sins, and it's a funny one. Like I've not played Legacy since for about a month and a half now, and because I've been just playing Modern, I've been enjoying Modern, but I'm a blue black enjoyer in Legacy. I'll be playing blue black probably until it's unplayable. But even if you ban the Entomb sort of stuff, then you've got things like Up the Beanstalk as a problem. There's these cards that exist and just do their thing, just existing on the battlefield, like reward you for casting spells, which there's no real skill involved.
Right?
There's no downside to it, and I don't know. I think Legacy looks really fun. I've not engaged with it, but when I did test for it, I absolutely loved it. Like I absolutely loved it. Like I love that format so much. It's so exciting.
I think the biggest issue with Legacy is like I would never go in for a deck's throat. Like ban Reanimate and move on. It's dead. That's
the problem, right? Like just banning a deck outright. Even if I hate that deck is still someone loves that deck. Like that is someone's deck, and I don't want to like punish that.
Yeah.
But like there's another deck that I actually do think needs answering, which is Oops All Spells in Legacy. Is actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
I'm surprised you've not just windmill slam Balustrade Spy, to be honest.
Yeah, like
I'm going to contradict myself. I actually do think they should just kill that deck. If you enjoy that deck and you're playing that deck, you don't deserve it. Like that deck is like goes against Legacy. Like that. You can't kill my pet deck, but I'll kill your.
Like I will go back. Right. I will go back on what I said. I would actually just ban that deck right out because that deck is like. So I think because Legacy now, I know this isn't like a podcast, but you started talking about Legacy. I think Legacy is essentially in the same space as like Pauper or Dual Commander, where it's like a community-driven format now. It's a community format, so you can approach the bans on enjoyability level. So I think when they banned, what card did they ban? That was annoying. So when they banned
Grief,
Grief, for example. that was completely on the basis of enjoyability, because the numbers didn't actually support a ban. It was just, this card is egregious. People aren't enjoying playing it. Now, what was the last card that was banned at the last one?
Frog?
Oh, Frog? Troll?
Yeah, Frog and Troll was banned. But yeah, it's basically these cards are like, they're looking at these. Oh, sorry, Mycospawn. Mycospawn was banned because it was just, it wasn't putting up the numbers as it should, but it was obnoxious that people weren't enjoying it.
It was horrendous.
So that was like a real strange metric where they didn't look at the numbers, but they listened to the players, and I think that was quite a good thing to do. So yeah, I think Legacy is a weird one where like people aren't enjoying this format because of this reason, not necessarily backed up by numbers. I think Oops All Spells fits into that. People are not enjoying playing against Oops All Spells because they'll be 4-0 into a league, Oops All Spells, and they've kept a hand of 2 Force of Wills and a Daze, and then they just play a creature or something from the graveyard, and it's like, I'm holding up this interaction for when you kill me with the Oops All Spells package, but I can't answer a creature because I've got no removal, for example.
I think they're just, I love Legacy. I love the idea of Legacy. The biggest problem for Legacy from players' point of view is the reserve list. So you can't, because the reserve lists exist, you can't give it to a community leadership like Pauper. But like, let's take Reanimator as an example, right? If, let's say, Reanimator existed in Modern, you'd ban Gorios, move on, whatever. But Legacy is so powerful and gets so many powerful cards printed into it. I could ban 2 things from Reanimator on Monday. There are 2 cards waiting in line that just don't really see play anymore, just to fit into the slot.
It's happened for the last year and a half with Blue Black Reanimator. The deck just won't die because there's just other cards to fill in. But
like, even if you ban like literally Reanimate, then you've got like Animate Dead to bring it back.
You can just do it on 2 mana. Just do it on 2 mana. The difference between 1 and 2 mana on Legacy is massive though. Like,
it's
massive.
insane. Yeah.
I think Atraxa and Archon, if you're not banning Entomb, you have to ban Atraxa and Archon together because they're just too efficient.
You just get Griselbrand, or what's that one that can't be interacted with?
Inkwell Leviathan.
Nah, it got printed in Dustmourn.
Valgavoth.
Yeah, you can. There are fatties that are just can just win you the game. Sure, you don't get the card
silly
advantage.
Me thinking Inkwell Leviathan still playable.
Let's get Cyrus 7 decks out as well. Yeah,
Cyrus 7 decks. There's stuff, right? But it's a strange one because it's like a non-consequential format. It's just there. They don't make much money off it. They don't.
Yeah.
It's just
by choice.
By choice. Yeah, but
cringe.
Yeah,
sorry.
The reserve list is a problem. It's
cringe.
Anyway, should we talk about Modern before we finish up this segment? Because we're not going to get a BnR, but if you were to ban anything from Modern, what would it be?
Nothing, I think.
The format's fine. Like, there's argument for like Goblin Bombardment, maybe Flays, just to keep Boros in check but not kill it dead. Like, Goblin Bombardment just feels like that's maybe just a guaranteed win. If you resolve a Goblin Bombardment, you got a wide enough board that it is, and you just win. And then
I don't like the way Ajani is designed. I don't like the way you can flip Ajani by just playing multiple Ajanis. I felt like the one ring where you could stop yourself from dying by just playing another one.
Legend rule should be a downside, not a mechanic.
Upside.
Yes. So I would personally, if I was to ban some cards off the top of my head right now, for selfish reasons, it would be Ajani. I think that card is egregious. I think Eldrazi Temple is a problem with K Command. I genuinely do. I think it is. I don't think you should get that powerful cards off just playing land drops and curving into that level of power. Like, it's ridiculous. And what else would I ban?
So in Mycospawn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd put that on there. I hate that card with a passion.
I think so.
We're banning 3 cards from Eldrazi. Josh.
I think so. Mycospawn would get hit by the fact that Eldrazi Temple's going. So I'd probably. I just don't. I basically don't want consigned to memory. Like, I don't want to have to play 4 consigned to memory in every deck I own.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that card should be like, I don't know. Like, if Eldrazi Temple and such, well, the cast triggers wasn't a thing, I don't even think consigned to memory will be played. Like, you just have to play them.
Yeah.
They have text in so many other decks, but you wouldn't play consigned to memory for those decks. They just have text. So against blue white flicker, for example, consigned to memory has text against that deck. Shout out to Jack, who I actually 1-for-2'd, 2-for-1 two of his cards by replicating consigned to memory in that tournament. But it has text against like black white, for example. It has text against, I don't know, other decks, but you wouldn't necessarily have them in your sideboard for those decks. They just consequently happen to be good. But because Eldrazi's a thing and Brood Scale's a thing, you sort of have to play those.
It needs to have them,
Yeah. And I hate that. I hate the fact that 4 sideboard slots, if you play blue, your sideboard starts with 4 consigned to memories, always, and I hate that. And what else would I...
I'd ban Frog.
Should...
See ya.
Frog's so bad right now, though. Like, Frog isn't good.
Yeah, still ban it. I'd ban it.
It's not good right now.
If we're being petty, I don't like Frog, therefore I would ban Frog.
But that's only selfishly. Like, I don't think any. I think if you want to beat something in Modern, you can approach it and you can build something to
certainly give it a go.
Yeah.
You can really give it a go.
Yeah.
Any more on BnR?
Nope. All good.
So that'll be on the 30th, which is the 26th today.
Monday.
So we'll get this podcast out before then, obviously. We've got, before we go on to the details of the giveaway, we have got some listener questions.
We've got 2 this week.
2?
Yep. So one of them is how to. I'm assuming this is from the Mono Belcher video, because the data says so. How to sideboard against Domain Zoo and Blue White Control. If we go back to that video, there's a free sideboard guide attached in the description. However, instead of me just reading off this sideboard guide, Sam, Josh, how was your sideboard?
Are we talking about from the red perspective or just generally sideboard against Zoo? Because generally sideboard against Glue is something I've not figured out yet. Or I've got thoughts on it, but it's hard.
We'll say from the red deck's perspective.
So from Belcher's perspective, I don't really think it's about how you sideboard per se. If you're struggling with that matchup, it's a tough matchup. They have a clock and they have interaction, the perfect combination against combo decks. Realistically, your sideboard isn't really, there is no one card that hoses Zoo. Obviously, Blood Moon style effects are pretty effective, but they sort of decrease in value if you're playing against a good Zoo opponent. Because if they Leyline in play, they fetch a basic. Blood Moon does not affect them. Like, it can come down to the quality of that player. I think when it comes to, so I actually after that episode, I played a league with Red Belcher. I lost the Brood Scale, I lost the Boris Energy, and I beat 3 blue decks in a, which I was like, this should be the other way around. But no, that's how it went. I think that it really, against those decks in particular, it's really about your opening hands. One card that becomes very, very valuable as well is the Valakut Awakening. If you get blown up by 2 counter spells, right, let's recycle these cards and get some new win conditions to go along. Also, one thing I would say is just because your deck can race doesn't mean it should. Take every game as it comes, play around what you can play around. But you don't have to, if your opponent's on blue, there is very little reason for you to slam or go for a turn 2 unless you know it's safe.
Exactly, yeah.
The problem with Zoo, though, is that it has the interaction and the threat. I think the premier counter spell for you, especially looking at the red deck from Zoo perspective, is the fact that they've got Stubborn Denial. But is it Stubborn Denial? But if they don't have a threat out, it's basically Daze Tax. So you can just hold off. If they tap out for a threat or they play a threat, then you're probably going to play around the fact that, I am going to get one of my spells going to get countered. And you either make them have it, or you can go try and sandbox a turn. To try and use it. But it's one of those things I get with Goryo's, like Zoo is a tough matchup because they play a threat and hold up interaction. And the interaction's so efficient when they've got a threat out, and especially if they got the Scion combo out, it's really hard to keep on top of them. But it's a hard deck, and it's really, as Sam said, if it's a good player, usually the weakness in a domain is the land base, but with the ley line stuff, and if they're fetching correctly, a good 2 player is hard to beat. Like, you've got to make them have it, and because they have so much efficient interaction, so much like it's. I do think Zoo is one of the best decks right now. It's so good, but again, the deck loses.
It's very clunky.
The deck loses because it can the kind of clunky draws, but it does play some fables now. It does play like if they draw hot, like they hit the land drops and they draw hot, they only need 1 threat and you're and a hold of interaction and you're pretty much dead. But it's a tough matchup. It is a tough matchup.
It is.
Second question, Dan.
Yeah, thank you for that question. The next one, Mono should be just a short one. It was touched on in the Mono Belcher video. What about March of Reckless Joy over some number of Glimpse Impossible? Now, Kieran, who we had on for Mono Belcher, I'd spoke about this card. He said it's not as good as Glimpse. Glimpse, it ramps you, it finds 3 cards for essentially the same mana of March, and you're not putting yourself cards down for March. So there was turns where, very, very much like Sam, after the video with Kieran, I ran a few leagues with Mono Belcher, and you just play the what's it called again? Glimpse. You play Glimpse, cast nothing from it, get 3 Scions, play 4th land, Belcher, Scions, and kill them. So I think Glimpse is sort of very much needed in that deck. March to me doesn't seem to be the one.
I have no comment. I think it's pretty obvious that Glimpse is better than
Glimpse is insane.
Yeah.
Glimpse has a lot of hidden flavor text. I haven't played with it. I recommend playing with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's it for this week's listener questions.
We have one more, don't we?
Yes, it just said 0.
No. We have one more.
Yes, we do actually.
That wasn't sent through those means.
From
it was sent through
from some random gamer. Recently, a spotlight prize was to have a hand in designing a secret lure. What secret lure would you design if you had the chance?
I knew exactly because we looked at these questions before the pod, and I knew exactly what mine would be.
Go on, Josh. Hit me up.
So we're talking like 5 cards, right? So I would
a collection of cards.
A collection. Okay, so let's say how many is usually 5? So I'd be like
5 or 6.
Basically, Psychic Frog, maybe like Kaito, something like Murktide, that sort of ilk, Fatal Push, maybe Preordain, but all in the style of like neon Kamigawa Japanese, like, but like emphasis on like the neon, but not like kawaii cute neon. I mean like gritty,
cyberpunky,
like
gritty,
cyberpunky, like Ghost in the Shell-esque, gritty, futuristic, like tubes coming out of Psychic Frog or whatever, but like really obvious like cyberpunk neon, like
Psychic Frog,
emphasis on the color purple as well, like
Psychic Frog could be in a test tube and it's moving things around.
Sorry,
I think I've just cut out, but right, yeah. Imagine if like Psychic Frog test tube, it's like a proper gross looking frog. And then it's moving things around outside of the test tube with like scientists,
and there's like some graffiti. There's like some graffiti on the actual test tube itself, or like something like
That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd be mine.
Dan?
So I'm gonna go for like Al Capone themed secret lure. So for my first card, I'm gonna have Slick Shot Show Off. Yeah. Because he was a cowboy hat, very much like what Al Capone would have done. My next card is Goblin Sharpshooter, but instead of just like his bulky gun, it's going to be like, a Tommy gun, and it's going to have a big, massive, comically sized sniper scope on top of it. The next one, very similar, Orcish Bowmasters, but this time they're going to have the hats on as well.
Okay, like fedoras.
Like fedoras, yeah.
1930s gangster, see.
And another goblin and another red card. Who would have thought? Krenko Mob Boss, and it's just going to be literally Al Capone, but a goblin.
Do you know how like Outlaws of Thunder Junction was like magic players wear cowboy hats?
Yes.
Imagine if we did like the secret layer just described is characters visit streets of New Capena. So like, what would Krenko Mob Boss look like on the streets of New Capena? Be in his big coat with his big top hat on and a big cigar. Shane, that's a sick idea. Good one, Dan.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I guess
What about
that
you,
leaves
Sam?
me.
What's yours?
Yeah.
Go on.
So one of my favorite sets of all time, I really like color shifted future sight style sets, like the what if element of Magic. So what I would do for my secret is I would have like household named cards. So like Lightning Bolt, for example. But instead of Lightning Bolt looking like Lightning Bolt, what would Lightning Bolt look like if it was on a blue card, for example? So a best way I could think of explaining it is like, imagine we had Spell. What if Spell Snare was future sighted and the artwork was the artwork of a red card? Like imagine like a wolf getting struck down by lightning, but on a blue card.
Do you know
as Spell Snare?
Do you know the original printing of Force of Will was supposed to be red? Because Counterspell was supposed to be red. Yeah. So if you look at the original print of Force of Will from Alliances, like if you look at it, it's like an angry guy, like that was originally supposed to be a red card, but they decided that Counterspells are blue.
Effect,
That's sort of like that. So sort of like that. Does like that ilk, like it's blue, but this this was red, it'd look like.
Yeah, I do some like color shift. That's a good tidbit, pub quiz knowledge. But I do like a color shifted secret layer. So like a blue card having red art or a green card having white art, for example, and go like that. Just because they're always dead funky, aren't they? So
what color would you have your mono blue Belcher deck in then?
If mono blue Belcher makes me feel very.
It's got to be red, right?
Yeah, it's pretty reddish.
Yeah.
So if I could have
that
getting decimated by a lightning bolt or someone, I'd do that.
Yeah. That was my favorite secret lair. They released a playset of lightning bolts, and they were foil all by different. They are the only lightning bolts that I play with. They're my favorite ones.
Nice. I really like.
I kind of wish I did that a bit more.
I know people didn't like them that much, but I kind of like the Dungeons and Dragons lightning bolts.
Yeah, they were quite sick.
I've got a playset of Japanese ones in there. I've got 2 playsets of Japanese ones actually. Cool.
Like
so, any more on the list of questions? Thanks for sending those in, listeners. So, giveaway time. So, we are going to give away to a listener a set of Apex sleeves, the Sultai versions, and the matching deck box, which is right here. The sleeves are excellent sleeves. Like, I've smashed my sleeves. I've had them and they're still good to go. They're lasting ages. Very high quality product. We are sponsored by, Chad Magic is sponsored by UltraPRO, therefore we are sponsored by UltraPRO. So hopefully we'll be getting more stuff to give away, but we will be giving away this. And how to enter is the following. We are going to, after the release of this pod, we're going to send a tweet out onto Twitter. And we want you to make sure that you follow us on Twitter, you follow us on YouTube, and you're going to comment on that post. We'll also do the post on Blue Sky. We don't have many followers on Blue Sky, but we'll also do it on Blue Sky too. On that, we want you to tell us anything you want us to know about about Magic that you enjoy, whether it be your favorite card, your favorite deck, a story you've had, your favorite interaction, your whatever lore, anything. What is the thing that you really like about Magic, or something you really like about Magic? We will look at them and we will read a few out, but ultimately we'll be picking randomly from them, and you will get a PM from us for your address, etc., and we will send you both of these in a wanna. Very jealous actually, because my only commander deck is Sultai, so when I looked at this I was like, I could keep this, and then I was like, no, I will be the better person.
You could win.
I will give it away.
You could win.
You could win. Wouldn't look good, but you could win.
It would not look good, yeah.
I guess Team Chad Magic are also. I'm going to get them to enter, but if they win, it's going to get re-rolled because they get access to free stuff. So,
okay, we're going to edit this out.
No, I'm not. I am not. If I say it, mate, I mean it. So that's how you enter. We will be making sure that you are out of those generated. You are following us on Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever. we don't really interact on Blue Sky too much. We do post on there when the video's up, but that's it. And make sure that you follow us on YouTube too. And if you repost it, that would be nice.
It'd be great.
In fact, is a repost? You do repost part of the requirement or not?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
When you see the
We'll
post,
let you know on the tweet. Follow us on Twitter, turn your
yeah.
notification bell on, and we'll let you know in a few days.
I mean, by the time you listen to this, the tweet will be live anyway. So, anything to add before we finish up, lads?
Nope, all good.
Sweet. A bit of a long one, but I feel like it's been interesting. Interesting conversation.
Fun chat.
I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since us three sat down and spoke for a bit, hasn't it?
Just us three, yeah. The boys get back together.
The boys are back in town.
Sound.
Sorry, carry on.
Sam, do you want to take us away with the obvious?
Like, share, subscribe,
Comment.
those things. Do comment. What secret layer would you make? Let us know. Do whatever the Twitter post says, or we'll find you.
And give you some this.
Yeah. I'll find you and give you treats.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks for your support, and thank you for the 500 subs. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.